We are back with another Q&A. Anything that I say is not meant to bypass your medical program or diagnose you. Just check with your doc before implementing any of the suggestions. Let's get it through as many questions as we possibly can, Steve.
We're going to do it record setting today. Let's start off with our old friend Sadow10 from Rumble. What are your thoughts about diseases caused by nutritional diseases or exposure to toxins like heavy metals? What would you recommend to treat those disorders?
Well, are we talking about not nutritional deficiencies, just heavy metals, right?
Well,
what kind of disease?
Let's stick with that, yeah.
Because you're right. Like you have, like even if someone's consuming brown rice, they're going to get exposure to cadmium, or you're going to have certain lead exposure. Even in natural soils, you're going to get lead exposure. So our bodies have a natural ability to get rid of these heavy metals through the detoxifying mechanisms. And yes, unfortunately, you cannot escape the swimming in the soup of chemicals, especially heavy metals. So I really think the solution needs to be, yes, get a water filter for sure. Avoid these chemicals in any shape, way, or form. But I think by beefing up your detoxification enzymes, your pathways, that's going to be the ultimate solution. Now, how do you do that? Every single biochemical reaction requires help from some nutrient, whether it's magnesium, zinc, sulfur, or even some proteins. So this means that you need to have sufficient. It's really hard to do it on a balanced diet. So one way is to take additional supplements. Make sure you have enough B vitamins. Make sure you're having enough trace minerals. Make sure you have enough vitamin D. Make sure you have enough magnesium. Make sure you have enough antioxidants to be able to counter the effects of the insult from heavy metals and toxins. There's a great test called it's a metabolomic test that you can visualize what's happening to your mitochondria or these different biochemical reactions. And they're looking at, from one part, one step to another, and you can indirectly see bottlenecks. And so I really like the concept of, just increase more nutrition to push that chemical reaction through to make sure it happens, versus trying to do detoxes and live in a bubble. It's really, really hard.
All right, very good. Good question, Sadow. Always glad to hear from you. Urban Viscous from Rumble. What's the best way to relieve stress before measuring your blood pressure?
Long walks in nature or in the woods. Even the pine trees give off these certain volatile chemicals that actually help you lower stress. So I think that would be the best immediate way to reduce your stress. The other thing long-term is to start taking that L-reuteri probiotic that I talk about. You can make it from half and half. You start doing half a cup of that. That really lowers your cortisol. So, yeah, that's what I would recommend.
All right, very good. Gordy from YouTube, would nattokinase, did I say nattokinase?
Nattokinase.
Thank you. Help my Meniere's disease because it's supposedly good for circulation. Hope I said that right.
Meniere's disease, which I don't know if that would be the best remedy for that. You can try it. Nattokinase is mainly to help dissolve clots and thin the blood. It's great for a lot of different things. I don't know. I have never tested it out, but the exciting thing, and I'm not going to release it yet or even talk about it, but there is something coming down the pike that's going to really solve a lot of these questions that people are asking, because, how do you find out what is the best remedy for Meniere's disease versus something else? Well, there's going to be an answer for that.
That's exciting. Michelle from YouTube, which supplements would help resolve issues related to menopause, good old menopause, symptoms and fatigue?
Couple things happen when you go to menopause. You have this shift away from the ovaries. The ovaries go in retirement, and then you have this backup system in the adrenals. Now you're going to be making your hormones to the adrenals more than the ovary. So a lot of times, if you're going into menopause already stressed, then things tend to get even worse stress-wise. So to build up those hormones, you have to make sure you have enough raw material. And those hormones are made from cholesterol. So don't go on a low-fat diet. Have enough fat and cholesterol foods, egg yolks, etc., to really make sure you have that. And then also, there's a lot of little things you can do just with your trace minerals, making sure you have enough iodine, make sure you have enough magnesium, make sure you have enough vitamin D. I've talked about this a million times, but that way you can support that transition to minimize the symptoms that a lot of women get when they go through menopause.
Okay, let's go to Jacqueline from YouTube. And we're sorry to hear that her mom had a stroke in March and it affected her speech functions. Would oxygen therapy help her? What measures should we consider to help her recover from that?
Yes, yes, yes. Highly recommend doing either hyperbaric, where they just have oxygen therapy. There's something I'm going to release a video on, a training program that will actually, it drops your oxygen and then it raises it up as you work out. And that might be too much for you, but I'm going to get the unit myself and start doing it with an actual machine, which is really interesting because it really will flood the body with more oxygen. But yes, that's what you want to do. You want to, I think hyperbaric would be the best thing for you, so you can saturate the body with more O2. Now, how do you get more oxygen in the body if you don't have a hyperbaric chamber? Well, exercise, a lot of exercise consistently every day. Get more of that coming into the body. That's going to counter the damage done.
Right. Sounds like some realistic remedies there. Channel 4 Lynn from Rumble. My family loves your cod liver oil supplements very much. Do you have any idea when they will be available again?
If I'm not mistaken, I think the beginning of July it's coming down. It's like it basically, boy, when you run out of that, it's not that you can just make it. You have to create it from actual codfish, and that does take some time. So hang in there. It'll definitely be coming down the pike really soon. I'm excited about it because that's what I want too as well. That's cod liver oil is one of the best things for your omega-3 fatty acid profile.
Okay, now I'm jealous and I haven't even been taking it, so I'll make sure I get some when it comes back. Tungrel from YouTube. I want to start taking creatine, but I have a non-alcoholic fatty liver. Is it still okay to take creatine? Will that blow his liver up?
Yeah, that's not going to interfere with it. One of the best, most powerful ways to deal with a fatty liver is going on a low carb diet. Within a couple of weeks. So you definitely need, among everything else, need to reduce your carbs. So I think it's a good time to talk about that because there's so many things or lies that we've been told. And out of all the lies, that saturated fat is bad, that red meat will cause cancer, that you're going to be better off doing a low-calorie diet. The one that at the very top of the list is that we need more carbs. Our bodies are running more carbs. Carbs is essential. Our brain prefers glucose as a primary fuel. I mean, the challenge with that is the food pyramid or the dietary guidelines are like 65% carbs, and a lot of it in the form of grains. And so this idea that even whole grains are healthy, it's part of the carb thing. Well, when you think about whole grains, just convert that to sugar because that's really what you're talking about. If you were to ask me, what's the most powerful, simple thing to remove at least 80% of chronic disease, if not all of chronic disease, it'd be reducing your carbohydrate levels. There's nothing else more powerful than that. And this is why when they're creating these new food guidelines coming up, hopefully really soon, they need to have an option, not a mandate, but an option for the general public of doing low carb. And there's several important reasons for that. Number one, the general population has chronic disease. Like 80% of the general population has at least one chronic disease, at least one. So that makes it very important to add that option. And you might say, well, I don't really follow that anyway, but the entire school system, public school system, the nursing homes, the hospitals, the prisons, the military, all follow this dogma or these food guidelines. And not only that, if we don't have that option in the dietary food guidelines, if it's left out, then certain doctors get penalizing for recommending it. That's true. Like there are certain doctors that got penalized when they started recommending something that is not the gold standard or something that's not part of that dietary food guidelines, not to mention the dietitians. So we better add that into this mix. It's so important because if we don't, now we're going to, it affects everyone indirectly or directly, and especially the doctors. They should have the option to recommend something that is thoroughly researched, and it's definitely credible. There's overwhelming research that low carb can reverse chronic disease more than any other diet.
Well, the powerful Fruit Loot lobby at it again. And here's our first quiz question for the day, Doc.
Okay, true or false? Collagen in topical skin lotions or creams can penetrate the skin.
All right, true or false, audience? Let's go to, let's see, our friend is a hilarious handle here. Straight Bro from YouTube. Could excess iron levels impact testicle health?
Heck yeah. Yes, it'll shut down your testosterone probably faster than anything.
Wow.
One indirect way to know that you have too much iron is just donate your blood and see how you feel. If you start feeling good, then you got too much iron. Be careful of cooking in iron skillets. Do not take any iron supplements. Iron is one thing that our body has no way to get rid of it. It feeds pathogens. It'll increase the growth of fungus in your body and mold and candida. So yeah, that's something, it can definitely shut that down.
All right, very good. Let's find out who is watching today. So we'd like to say a good day to all of our viewers joining us today from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Ghana, Taiwan, South Africa, Jordan, the Philippines, Australia, Belgium, Finland, the Netherlands, Poland, Bermuda, Switzerland, Japan, Denmark, Germany, Botswana, Morocco, India, Austria, the Virgin Islands, Ethiopia, Bangladesh, Greece, France, American Samoa, Eritrea, Norway, Ireland, Pakistan, Egypt, Chile, Israel, Moldova, haven't heard from them for a while, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Myanmar, Curacao, I don't think we've ever heard from them. Some new ones today. The Czech Republic, Peru, Belize, Albania, Scotland, Sweden, Peru, Italy, Kuwait, Brunei, and all across these United States. And folks, we know that eats up a little real estate. I try to go through it as quickly as possible, but we want to pay tribute to everybody around the world, not just here in North Carolina where I am. Okay, Sandra from YouTube, what's the best remedy for hot flashes?
I like to start out using or recommending a high quality vitamin E, like tocotrienols. And sometimes that'll work, but not all the time. Sometimes you have to add iodine to make it work. And so these are, I have a whole list of things I've done videos about, try this first and try that. Because it's not, you can't solve that problem just with one thing for everyone. It's a little bit different. So, but there is solutions. And I think you want to do a natural solution and see what works best for you.
Okay, very good. I'm going to go to our first guest, Larissa, in just a minute after we answer quiz question number 1, which asked, true, false, collagen and topical skin lotions can penetrate the skin. And 80% of our respondents say that it's false and 20% say it's true. What's the answer, Doc?
It's false. The molecules of collagen do not penetrate the skin. It's not going to influence your collagen. It's more of a marketing thing. So Yeah, no, unfortunately not. And just as a side note, what can penetrate the skin, all three layers of skin, is castor oil, which is interesting. That's why it's so hydrating. That's why it's good for wrinkles, but not collagen.
Interesting. Okay, let's go to Larissa, who's calling in from Los Gatos in California. Go ahead with your own question, Larissa.
Hi, Dr. Berg. Do you hear me?
Hello. Yes, perfectly.
Perfect. Okay, first of all, thank you for accepting me for your Q&A. So the story is I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's many years ago, and past 4 years I spent to work with 4 different functional doctors and different protocols focusing on gut health, insulin resistance, and weight loss. I tried different fasting protocols, like 1 day a week fasting, 3 days consecutive fasting, and 5 days. Tried to lose weight. I was temporarily lose some pounds, but then gain them back, assuming it's just water weight. My weight's still the same for all these years. And my question is, do you recommend water fasting for people with Hashimoto? And what
Mm.
schedule would you advise to use?
So there's a lot of things that could be done. That's one thing. The other one that I would recommend, because we're dealing with an autoimmune, is to increase your vitamin D levels to the point where maybe you get your blood levels close to 90 or maybe even up 100. That would take about 30 or 40 or 50,000 IUs per day with the magnesium and the K2 and the zinc. Because what we want to do is we want to help stabilize your immune system, because that's what Hashimoto's is. It's an immune problem, even more than a thyroid problem. So another thing that can help your immune system is by taking selenium. Selenium is really good for the conversion from T4 to T3. And I know what you're up against, because when the thyroid is low, it's really hard to lose weight. Now, with your question with the fasting, if you do a 3-day fast once a month, that is going to severely improve or greatly improve your immune stem cells, which will then help your immune system. We're back to the immune system. But they might interfere. They might actually mess with your thyroid a little bit, because your body has to adjust to this no eating, and the thyroid is all about metabolism. But still, I would do it once a month as one of the things I would do in addition to vitamin D and low carb and healing your gut with that selenium. I think that would put you in the best place to put that disease into remission. Which, by the way, Hashimoto's is the number one problem right now uh, with a medical condition, even more than heart disease. So you're not
I'm
alone.
actually taking all these vitamins, including selenium, with my anositol. I'm taking your vitamin D with K2, 10,000 K, I mean 10,000 UI. Um, I was taking 20, and my number on the blood test raised to 135, and my doctor said, "Oh, you need to reduce it. You need to reduce it." So I reduced it
I think
to
I think this is
10,000.
I think it might be a really good idea to seek out one of Dr. Coimbra from Brazil's associates to work with them, because um, when you're dealing with a typical doc with vitamin D3, they don't really understand the vitamin D resistance that a lot of people have. And you want a doctor that can check your parathyroid hormone. You want a doctor that can look at your calcium levels. You want a doctor that can really make sure that vitamin D is penetrating inside the tissues, because when you're looking at the blood, you're not looking at what's happening deep in the cells. Uh, a lot of people that have autoimmune diseases um, have genetic weaknesses for an autoimmune disease. And so, parallel with that, it's kind of like the perfect storm of we have a genetic problem plus low vitamin D, plus gut damage. So if we don't, if you were dealing with this, we want to actually put this fire out. We need to, we can't correct your genetics, but we can actually override it by more vitamin D, but making sure that you're safe. The other thing is that when you have gut damage, that's another barrier from absorbing vitamin D, because of that's where you absorb most of the vitamin D is in your gut. So if that's going on, then here you are taking it, but it's not really working. And so I wouldn't be discouraged just because your vitamin D goes high. You want to really look at these other factors to make sure you're getting enough. And watch my video on Hashimoto's when I talked with Dr. Dimitri in that protocol. You may benefit from that metabolomic testing, because when it gets really complex, when you plateau, then we need to kind of get more help from someone that is really specializes in Hashimoto's and that can help you.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. We're rooting for you, Larissa, and we appreciate you taking your time to come on the air. And Larissa, we got another question which we want you to contemplate too. And Doc, here it is.
Okay, true or false? Most fungal infections in and on your body come from the fungus and mold you get in your diet. Like, if you're eating some cheese, there's always probably some mold on that. So is that true or false?
Well, I know it's yucky, so go from there. All right, let's go back to social media and see what they have to say. Well, here's a sincere thank you, Jessica on Rumble, for becoming a monthly supporter today. Good for you. Do you have any word about how the benefits of being a monthly supporter? Is that that's neat, or what do we have to say about that, Doc?
I'm curious what a monthly supporter actually is. I don't know what that means.
Oh,
actually.
wow. Well, it's exciting. There's a surprise for you, too. So, Terry, I'm sure will decode that at some point. Anyway, thank you, Josiah. I'm sorry, I said her name wrong. Josiah on Rumble for becoming whatever that is. All right, Miriam from YouTube. Can taking birth control pills stall weight loss? If so, is there a natural workaround from birth control pills?
Yes, it can affect not just your ability to lose weight, but can affect a lot of other issues. And fortunately, I did a video on this, and there's several things. You can get a device that looks at your saliva, and there's a certain type of pattern you can look up to the light, and it turns into this burn pattern, which will kind of tell you when you're ovulating. And you have that. But I would just use other protective measures, because the birth control pill comes with a package. There's a lot of issues with that. Don't recommend it. I'd find some other way birth control pill that doesn't involve that manipulation with estrogen.
All right, very good. Now let's hear from our friend Against Big Farmer from Rumble. What do you think about raw food only diet? And he speaks of raw meat, raw dairy, egg yolks, and seafood. Would you ever consider such a thing?
Well, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that I wouldn't do it myself. But some people love it, and it's helped them. I would test it out, see how you do. I do know that when you cook food, sometimes it's easier to digest, especially if we're talking about vegetables as well. But also when you're having eggs raw, you will eventually become deficient in biotin, believe it or not. So there's some benefits to cooking certain things, but also having something rare too is also beneficial. So I don't think I have too much of an opinion. If it works for you, great. I'm not telling you not to do it. I just don't have enough experience personally to tell you if I would go that way or not.
All right. Well, good luck with that. Neat people are trying to pursue a healthy life, however they go about it. And we pursued getting answers out of quiz question number 2, which asks, true, false, most fungal infections in your body come from the fungus and mold that you get in your diet, like cheese, as you mentioned. And 55% of respondents say it's false, and 45% say it's absolutely true. Pretty close.
Yeah. No, that's not how you get a fungus on your body. I'm talking about like a white tongue, chronic halitosis, jock itch, toenail fungus, some fungus on your scalp, candida. some other systemic fungal or infection that you have in the body, or even a chronic sinus issue is more mold issue in your sinuses, or some fungal infection. The way you get that is not by consuming mold. The way you get it is by destroying your microbiome. Think about it. In your gut, you have mostly bacteria, but you also have a certain amount of fungus, mold, yeast, candida that is not bothering you. It's kept in check by the police officers or the bacteria. As soon as you wipe out the bacteria, and that's what antibiotics do, they only kill the bacteria. They don't mess with the funguses and other microbes. Guess what? You just took away that thing that keeps them in check, and now they can overgrow and they start to take over. So there's several ways to kill off microbes that even go beyond just antibiotics. Steroids. That's a big one. It messed me up. I took steroids every year for I don't know how many years from poison ivy, and I ended up with all sorts of yeast and issues. So that's really where it comes from. And so, if I'm not mistaken, Steve, before I say anything else, there might be another question that relates to this. Is that true?
Well, let's look. Oh,
I think
yes,
there is.
certainly is. It's coming up next.
I should stop talking now because I always give the answer to the next following question. So I'm going to stop, Steve.
I hear nothing. Please disregard the latest testimony from Dr. Berg. And why don't we just go ahead and put it up? There we go.
All right. The best antidote to candida, fungal infections, chronic sinus, which is fungal, is fill in the blank.
Okay, there's your chance, audience, to challenge the doctor on his opinions. Eve from Facebook, how do we deal with endometriosis? My daughter recently had surgery for it, you poor thing, and we want to know how to keep her inflammation low. I understand it's an awful condition.
It's the exact same remedy that you would use for fibroids, and that would be high doses of vitamin D3. Okay, I did a whole video on this. It's fascinating. There's something very unique about the tissue in endometriosis and about the tissue in fibroids that have to do with a vitamin D problem. So you want to beef that up, 20, 30, 40,000 IUs of vitamin D3 with the magnesium and zinc and cofactors, other cofactors, and take that for a period of time until that problem goes away. Now, in addition to what I just recommend, I would also clean up the diet, make sure you're not doing high carbohydrate, go low carb, do organic. If you're using a tampon, make sure it's 100% organic cotton because there's chemicals in the other ones. So these are all things that I think I would really help you. And this is, Steve, this is the problem. When you're looking for solutions like this that really work, do you search it? Do you ask ChatGPT? Unfortunately, ChatGPT only searches through the internet and starts looking for what everyone else is doing but the majority of people do not know these suppressed remedies, and they're suppressed for various reasons. But this relates to a program that I'm working on right now, which is going to be very exciting to solve that problem.
All right, we're all pulling for your daughter because I know that's uncomfortable. And Shannon and I share a common question. Shannon asked from Facebook, is it possible to fix a hiatal hernia without surgery? I have a pretty big one too. What do you think, Doc?
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. But I think a couple things that you might want to do is just understand the mechanism of connective tissue and collagen and fascia. Maybe you have a weakness there because you don't have enough collagen in the diet, or you don't have the cofactors to help make that collagen strong. So especially as we age, we lose the collagen. So get a good collagen supplement that has a wide range of different types of collagen, and then make sure you get the cofactors like B vitamins, vitamin C, trace minerals, and see if that can potentially help you. I will say that, some people do stem cell. Some people do fasting to improve some of the connective tissue issues. So these are all things you can try, but you may need to get surgery for that. I don't know. So
Shannon, if I might, my gastroenterologist said he wouldn't do it for a million years because he said it really closes the valve so much you can't belch and you build up all sorts of gas and there's all sorts of secondary issues with it. So he said just deal with it and chew a lot.
but I will say this, Steve, working on also your digestive system, your stomach. Make sure that stomach is really acid with betaine hydrochloride, and then do the manual. And I think I did a video on this. I showed you how to manually kind of do some pressure points and massage that area underneath your diaphragm. Can go a long way to help give you relief. So watch that video.
All right, Shannon, both you and I have our homework set out for us. Okay, quiz question number 3 asks, the best antidote for candida, fungal infection, chronic sinus fungal is, drumroll please, the audience, 35% of them say it's cloves. 25% say it's probiotics, 20% say oregano oil, 10% say L-reuteri bacteria, and the final 10% say a low-carb diet, which can't hurt anybody. What do you think, Doc?
What was the first thing you said?
The first thing was cloves.
Clove. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you are all correct for sure. It's going to greatly help. But there's one thing that actually is even stronger and more powerful, and that would be starvation. Starve off these. You see these. You have the category of fungus, and then underneath that you have yeast, which are single cell, little microbes, and then mold is like several cells connected together, but they're all in the family of fungus, and they all depend on sugar and refined carbs. So if you just cut out all the sugar, maybe you go carnivore, but you just bring that sugar and starch down to 0, then you literally starve off those fungus creatures. So that's like a real simple way to do it. And then if you add these other things to it, then it's going to go away. But so many people are taking these different remedies and they're taking medication on top of too many carbs. So they keep them fed. So you have to starve them off as you reseed the bacteria in there to kind of build up that population through, sauerkraut, things like that.
Okay, which begs the question. I guess you're talking about fasting, though, as well. I did one 5-day fast and, survived and liked all that. How often should a person do any length of fast in a year, whether it's, 48 hours or 5 days or any recommendation?
Well, I really think everyone should be doing intermittent fasting for 18 hours minimum. Okay, that should be for everyone. But I think once a month, if you did a 3-day fast, you would literally bulletproof yourself against cancer, because there's so many different things that happen when you do that prolonged fast for your immune system and to deal with cancer. It's crazy. And then if you just add get your vitamin D levels to 90 nanograms per milliliter, I think, that you just completely come out of that cancer risk area or that zone. But that's what I would recommend.
All right. Well, I'm going to commit to that right now because I had fun doing it. All right. Let's see. Sort of. Lewis from YouTube, my friend has been diagnosed with low-grade ovarian cancer. What natural approaches should she consider for her condition? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think I was just looking at this too, and there are, unfortunately, with ovarian cancer, a lot of times it's related to estrogen type disruptors, endocrine disruptors, which are estrogen disruptors. You have so many things in the environment that will act like estrogen, all these chemicals. So you want to reduce those triggers as well. But I think the best thing to prevent or even deal with cancer is do an immediate, long, prolonged fast. just to kind of like starve off and not give the cancer any resources, and then start consuming super healthy foods like cruciferous that can then put you in a pretty good place. But I would watch my videos on cancer, and also it's like you can't just do one thing. You have to do a multi-tier attack over this, because just when you plug that hole or that bucket, or that hole in the buckets, cancer found another way to live and survive. So you really have to hit it from all angles.
All right, that's some worthy research for sure. Terry from Facebook, do you have any advice for preventing further episodes of diverticulitis?
Well, I think the biggest advice is when you're dealing with inflammation anywhere in the gut, the best thing to do is start to, by elimination, reduce a lot of the things that can mess that up and create inflammation. The grains, gluten are at the top of the list, right? So get rid of grains, but also you might want to go carnivore for a period of time to eliminate a lot of things that can irritate the gut lining. There is also some additional things that can help heal the gut as well. A good high quality freeze-dried colostrum, zinc, glutamate. These are all things that are really good to heal the gut.
All right, very good. Let me see if I can ferret out some people that have gone silent on us. Rohit from Arizona, do you hear me? Are you there? I don't see your picture. Sir, are you there? All right, let's pause with Rohit, and let's go to Claudia. Can you hear us? I don't see your camera, Claudia, excuse me. All right, well, we'll check back in, but you folks know we're looking for you, so if you pop up, we'll put you on the air. In the meantime, let's go to a question that Dr. Berg is very familiar with, and it's from Karen. What's the best way to dry up rashes from poison ivy exposure?
If you have a mild problem, you can use baking soda, you could use bentonite clay, calamine lotion, and there's certain types of remedies that you can buy that you can scrub it and clean up that poison ivy, and hopefully remove it as soon as you get it on your body. Now, that works initially, but if you get it really bad, where this poison ivy, gets into the bloodstream, like with me, because of the terrible itching I had, then it starts getting into your immune system. All I have to do is even think about poison ivy and I'll get it. I mean, I can be away from, I don't have to touch it. It just starts to pop up on my skin. However, after I did the stem cell stuff, that has mostly gone away, almost 100%. A couple other things that I would recommend is after you've done that, take a really hot shower and put the hot water on that poison ivy. It'll be intense, but it seems to then numb the area for at least 3 hours. But there's one more thing that I think I would also recommend: getting a cold bath and diving into that for 5 minutes at 50 degrees. Boy, that literally, I don't know if it shocks the body or what, but it definitely helps with your immune system. It helps. You won't be feeling the poison ivy because you'll be in so much pain from the cold water.
All right, very good. Armandez from Rumble, why would blood pressure fluctuate wildly in a teenager?
Well, are they exercising and it's coming up? It should go up and down. But if they're just sitting there and it goes up and down, there's a problem with the autonomic nervous system that regulates the blood pressure. There's various conditions for this, but the best remedy for that kind of condition is taking higher doses of vitamin B1. And especially if you're relating to teenagers, one of the biggest reasons why they're deficient in B1 is their carbs are too high. The more carbs, refined carbs that they consume, the more B1 that they need. And so I would cut the carbs, go low carb, take a lot of B1, and don't forget about magnesium as the cofactor to allow B1 to work. And I think that will put you in good shape.
All right, here, let's go on to, we need to answer number, no, we already did that. Let's go to quiz question number 4. Here you go.
Okay. At what vitamin D blood level levels are people most at risk of getting tumors or even cancer.
Huh. All right. Dive into that, audience. And Sashio1 from Rumble, my gallbladder was removed 7 months ago, and I'm now having pain as if it's still there. Do you have a suggestion for a remedy? What would Tudka help? If so, is there something I need for the rest of my life?
This is the easiest problem on the planet to solve. In fact, if you do what I'm going to tell you within the next 60 seconds, you will not have any more pain in the gallbladder area. Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down? So the gallbladder is on the right side, about an inch off the midline, right underneath the right rib cage. And you just had it removed, and that created a trauma. I've talked about this in other videos. If you now do massage, it doesn't matter what kind of massage, just press into it on the opposite side, the mirror image side, which means about an inch to the left of the midline, okay, underneath the rib cage, on your left side, not where your incision was, but on the opposite side. And you start pressing around in there, press up, down to the side, and you're going to find a spot that is so painful, and you're going to be very surprised, like, why is it so painful in this point? You apply gentle pressure for 2 or 3 minutes, and then notice how the pain on the right side has vanished. So you're just kind of breaking up some of the kind of stuck circuitry that's going on in the body from surgery. You can do it with any pain. It works like a charm. And then, of course, see how you do, because pain is one thing, but then we don't know if the bile is being regulated or not. So you want to see with your digestion. If you have diarrhea, then you don't need, bile salts. If you get constipation, or you start showing signs of the stools floating, or vitamin A, your vision is not working that well at night, then you might need some Tudka on an empty stomach. But before you start taking it, just see if you really need, because now you don't have a gallbladder, but you have a tube that goes right in the small intestine, and it's just being constantly dripped down. So I don't know, you might need it or you might not.
All right. Hope that helps. Lisa from Facebook, what's the best way to improve a fatty liver?
Low carb diet for a good period of time, and that will be the best thing to get rid of the fat off of your liver. Choline is another good remedy, which is in eggs, that helps reduce fat in the liver. But the main thing is going to be low carb. That's going to get rid of your fatty liver.
Oh, great. Okay, John from YouTube, if your body has issues absorbing nutrients from your food, sort of an interesting question, will it also have difficulty in using stored fat as food while fasting?
No. Now, as soon as you drop your glucose, then your insulin will go down. Okay, and so once the insulin goes down, that's like a switch. Your body has no choice; it has to go after your fat because it's looking for fuel. So the transition, then it's going to go after your fat as fuel, and it's going to convert some of that to ketones as your fuel, which you can think of that as just a different type of fat that's being used. And it's all based on keeping your insulin very low. You can actually increase that if you cut the carbs low and then you fast longer and then you add exercise to that. So those are 3 things you can do to speed up the process.
Okay, very good. I think we have Rohit back. Hi, my friend. Dropping his daughter off at school, a noble task. Let me get you into a graphic here and bring you up. And Rohit, go ahead with your question for Dr. Berg.
Thank you. Thanks, man. Thank you, Dr. Berg, for giving me opportunity to ask my question. I just have a couple of questions. I will be very fast. My first question is about my rheumatoid factor. It went off the chart. So does it have a direct connection with candida or inflammation? My question 1. My question 2 is about some spine issues, mainly at L4-5 and L5-S1. It's terrible. So I know you also have spine issues. Any specific exercises or diet which we should not be doing? I know you have a video on the sciatica, on the spine issues, which exercise we should be doing. But when I go to gym, what should be avoided? Thank you, doctor.
Yeah, well, rheumatoid is an autoimmune disease, so you're going to have inflammation. Now, can you get candida? Maybe. That's kind of a different side of another side that you could be could be a problem, but I don't think it's directly related to that, but it's definitely going to be related to you're going to have more inflammation. When we're dealing with the lower spine, it just so happens the antidote for rheumatoid is high doses of vitamin D3. The number one first place to notice discomfort in your, the best way to know that you're vitamin D deficient is you're going to have low back pain. So that's a real big red flag for low vitamin D. So you want to increase your vitamin D. And also, the more melanin that you have in your skin, darker the skin, the more vitamin D you're going to need because that acts as a sunscreen. I think squats are always going to be a problem with your lower back, but I do like the inversion tables, but there's another table that I'm going to put a link. Just give me a little time to do that. It might take another hour or something in the description of going upside down. It's kind of like a traction, but on your knees, and it's a device that you can get. I love it. I do it doing the whole body inversion. You're just doing it by your knees, so it's a little bit easier, and it tractions out your lower back really nicely. I love that, and it's great, and it's good for disc problems, which I had a lot of. So, and then of course the other idea is to make sure, I'm sure you don't sit a long time during the day, right? Like most people, right?
I do. I work in the software, so I have to.
So that is the killer of the lower back. So you're going to have to take breaks every hour, and you're going to have to do stretching of your psoas. You can look it up how to do that, and really kind of offset that posture, which is in a forward flexion. Believe me, I did it too for many years. So you're going to have to do a lot of stretching to kind of offset that with that inverted hanging upside down. So I will put this link in there. It's a great, someone sells it. I have to give a link for that because I really like that device. It's a very great thing for any type of disc or lower back issues, or you're doing a lot of sitting.
All right, that's great. Rohit, thanks so much for joining us, and glad you got your daughter safely to school. All right, we've got answers. By the way, Rohit, this is for you as well, for quiz question number 4, which asked, at what vitamin D blood level are people most at risk of getting tumors, for goodness sakes? And 77% of respondents say it's a level of 25 or less, 15% say level of 50 or less, and 10% say 80 or less. Are they onto something, Doc?
It's 20 or less, okay? When your vitamin D levels are 20 nanograms per milliliter or less, you are at risk of getting tumors and having other problems as well. So the question is, then what would happen if we really raised up the vitamin D levels up to maybe 100 or 90, right? There's not a lot of research on that, but I think personally that would be something to explore. If low vitamin D puts you at risk, then let's keep it high. Or even if you had a tumor, how do you shrink it? Well, bring it up. There's some interesting data I want to share with you that goes along with this. There's a 2016 meta-analysis by the BMJ. They had 95,000 people, and they showed that each 10,000 nanograms per milliliter drop in vitamin D level increased a 16% increase in cancer mortality. So, also one more stat here I want to tell you. Breast cancer survivors showed a reoccurrence of the cancer was 94% more likely in those under 20 nanograms per milliliter compared to 30 nanograms per milliliter. So we're not just talking about getting cancer, we're talking about the reoccurrence, which is really significant. I mean, this is an area that there's not a lot of discussion on, but You go to the doctor, you have cancer. Do they check the vitamin D levels? Well, many, many, many times it's like really super low. Why not increase it and see what happens? There's some interesting data on the necessity of doing that.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'll use your product as a benchmark. So 10,000 IUs per capsule. For a person that doesn't get any meaningful sun exposure, is there an average if you take one of those? Are you likely to have some good numbers, or is it real variable, or, you know?
So that discussion is not connected to the last discussion of cancer, Steve. So if we're talking about just vitamin D levels, 10,000 IUs would be 20 minutes in the sun. Okay? That's 10,000. 20,000 IUs is 40 minutes in the sun. So you can't really predict what's going to happen to your blood because there's a lot of other things that can happen. A lot of people are resistant to vitamin D. A lot of people have genes that alter their conversions. So, I mean, it's really hard to determine that. And also, what if some people, they have gut issues? Some people have, they're older, they have more weight on them that they need more. So there's a lot to unpack with that. You can't. I would just recommend as a maintenance 10,000 IUs. But when you get into a therapeutic dose, it's going to be higher than that. And you have to just make your own judgment on that.
Okay, so if you go to any lab kind of place and say, test my vitamin D, is that an accurate test, or do you need to ask for something more specific? Okay.
Yeah, you can even do a home test. There's a great company that can do a home test. I'll put that link down below, and they send you a kit, and you send it off, and you can measure just by a drop of your own blood and see what your levels are. But if it's 20 or less, you're at risk for a lot of problems, not just tumors.
Wow. Well, thanks for that counsel. Okay, let's go to quiz question number 5. And it's a little goofy here because, let's see, it wouldn't let me put it over. Let's try that again, just a minute. There it is. You're inset, so you can do the theatrics with it. And go ahead and ask the question for the audience.
True or false? Consuming an entire bag of this will give you excess salt levels. Okay? If I consume this right now, which I could very easily, okay, would that be too much salt for me per day? That's the question.
All right.
And folks, I'm sure you want to know how much salt is in here, right? So let me just tell you. It says 210 milligrams for 21 pieces, 9 servings. Okay? So you have to multiply 210 times 9. That's how much sodium that's in here. So Goodness. Is that too much? So
you'll at least get your daily minimum requirement. We know that. All right. So that's well,
that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking, Steve.
Yeah. All right. So in there you go. So true, falser. And just to confirm that, since we had so many things, let's see if I can. Yeah, it won't let me bring it up. Oh well. You heard it. So, by the way, consuming an entire bag of this will give you excess salt levels. There we go. Okay. Now, let's move back to, let's see, social media. Sissy from Rumble. I stopped using sunblock last year. I eat no seed oils and no fast food and no longer get sunburn or red spots on my arms. What should I do to protect my face?
You mean from the sun?
Yes.
Just leave the sun into the shade when you get just some slight pink. Okay, then get out of the sun. Then if you do that in a few days and come back and get a little bit more, you start to develop a tan. That's basically your body's adapting to that, and it's forming more protection, natural sunscreen. But when you start blocking that UV, you start to block your vitamin D absorption. There's so much benefit to sun. You just don't want to get burned. But I do not recommend sunscreen because there's chemicals in there, and also it's not based on actual any science. But you might say, well, what about melanomas, right? Well, listen, after this whole sun scare, sun phobia thing in the 80s, and so millions of people started using sunscreen, why did melanomas keep increasing? They haven't gone down. Explain that to me, Steve.
Gee, I'm not that smart today. Maybe tomorrow. Let's go to Hold My Hand from YouTube. What can I eat to build muscle if I have subclinical hypothyroidism, high cholesterol, a fatty liver, and gallstones? More than a trifecta there.
I think the best thing to build muscle is to make sure you have a sufficient amount of protein, animal protein, like red meat, because that's what muscle is made out of. You can get all the nutrients and the protein, but then add this other thing in there. They call this, what's the name of that? Exercise. So you stimulate the muscle with add more volume of exercise, stress on the muscle. That's the greatest stimulus of making bigger muscles with sufficient protein in the cofactors. And I think that's going to help you grow muscles.
All right. Very good. Let's see now. This stupid question refuses to load. And there it is. So it asks, true, false, consuming an entire bag of this, which we showed you, the Cheetos, will give you excessive salt levels. And here we go. 65% of respondents say it's true, and 35% say it's a false statement.
It's actually false, Steve.
Wow.
So, yeah, we need like 20. Well, the RDAs are 2,300 milligrams of sodium. This only comes out to, I think, a little over 1,000. So if you down this whole thing, you still wouldn't get enough salt for the day. Interesting, isn't it? So you'd think it'd be like way too much. No. The problem, the big, huge problem, or the lie that's going on now is we're consuming too much salt. No, we're not. We're not consuming enough. We need more sea salt. Now, if you might disagree with me, but just take a look at a couple of things. When you're low on sodium, which, by the way, when there's cortisol goes up, it's going to affect your sleep. We need sodium and chloride, but mainly sodium, to help balance out our stress hormones. We need it to hydrate the body. When you're low on sodium, there's all sorts of issues that happen stress-wise, sleep-wise, electrolyte-wise, heart-wise. You will get a symptom of fatigue, keto flu, especially if you go low carb. You need more sodium. So how much do you really need? You need at least 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt a day. For people that exercise, they need 2 teaspoons a day or more to get your enough sodium. Now, I just challenge you to experiment, to try this out and start adding more salt to see how much better you feel and how much better you sleep. All sorts of things will start to improve, and you'll be like probably shocked. So how do you get this salt? Do you just like oversalt your food? No, you just kind of like in the morning, if you have coffee, I put a little salt in the coffee. Maybe when you drink your liquid, if you're using tea or lemon water, add salt to that and drink that. If you're doing electrolyte powder, add more salt to that. And then see how much better your exercise performance is and how much more energy you have. It'll be amazing. If you're salt sensitive and you're on high blood pressure, I think you should start increasing your potassium, because if you have enough potassium, then you can handle more sodium. All right, that's all I'm going to say, Steve.
Okay, darling, hand me the Cheetos. Oh, sorry. Let's go back to social media. Charlie from Facebook, is there a way to reverse hemifacial spasms in men, and what is the primary cause of that?
I'm not sure, but I would definitely try to beef up your magnesium levels to the point where maybe you're up to over 1,000 milligrams a day, and see if that doesn't help those spasms. And a couple other things. If you take a lot of magnesium without vitamin D, it might not work as well. So anytime you recommend vitamin D, I recommend magnesium. Anytime you recommend magnesium, I recommend vitamin D together. And I think that might help you.
Wonderful.
Try it out.
All right, terrific. Well, Doc, we've come to that point where we're out of time. Any last words?
Okay. On that note, have a wonderful weekend. I'll try to put those links in right now, but you might want to give me a few minutes. All right. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.